there will be not a revolution in our country because as it stands, things in our country are actually getting better. Poverty rates are decreasing, more than human rights regulations are being put into place. In our country, it's generally becoming a better place to live again, especially after the economic recession after the past decades. While there are many wannabe revolutionaries such as my opponents who believe that they force for change, they are in fact a bunch of cynic anarchists who rivals in the establishment, no just cause you don't get the answers.
Many innocent African American lives have been taken by police officers, and instead of them being punished for their actions, they get to wake up the next day and continue on with their lives because they are basically given permission by authority to do something so brutal. Just like Oscar Grant, who was shot and killed at Fruitvale Station by a police officer who claimed to have mistaken his gun for a taser. How does the government expect us to feel safe and protected if the people that's supposed to keep us safe are killing innocent people just because they are reaching down to get something out of their pocket? To add on, according to CNN, an officer attacked a 14-year-old girl at a pool party just for not following their orders, and then took it to her initiative to grab the girl's head and slam it into the ground, and even put their knees into her back. There are many more events that occurred as well. So yes, I strongly do believe that we are currently witnessing the early stages of a political revolution in the United States.
Currently, the U.S. election is showing that democracy still works and that the country is running smoothly. There are currently no wars happening in our country, which is good. No political wars or outbursts like the French Revolution. Poverty levels have also decreased, showing that democracy is a working government in the U.S. and not many have problems with democracies, as we have no uprisings recently. The most we have seen are social issues, but not political.
As my opponent stated earlier, currently the U.S. election is showing that a democracy still works and that the country is running smoothly. However, if this election candidate, Donald Trump, is elected for president, then America will be in serious issues that can possibly lead into a political revolution. Donald Trump believes people should only marry the opposite sex and is determined to make that a law. He is against same-sex marriage, but same-sex marriage is now legalized in the United States since June 26, 2015. Trump also believes and said Obamacare is a disaster. It should be repealed and replaced. According to the CBS News, there is evidence that Obamacare is reducing the ranks of Americans who do not have health insurance. Finally, Trump believes that the federal government should deport all undocumented immigrants and build a wall across the border, but he wants to allow more European immigration. There's a lot of immigrants who come to America to live the American dream, to have better futures and live a better life. They sacrifice many things just to come to the United States. But clearly, an ignorant man like Trump wouldn't understand that pain. Donald insulted Mexicans. He said, when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. However, due to the statistics and rates, Caucasian people are at the top list of crimes. The French Revolution was caused due to the government. They treated them unfairly and unjust, which caused them to revolt. If Donald Trump does get elected for president, it would be chaos. People will and are going to revolt. He is unfair and does not treat others with equality due to their race or who they love. It is possible people will try to overthrow him or kill him, such as the Chapo Guzman. Therefore, the United States is headed towards a political revolution.
The U.S. is not headed towards a political revolution, despite all that's going on with the police brutality, as my opponent has said. Even though it is a very big and important topic, it is not the start of a political revolution for the U.S. The definition of political revolution is uprisings against the government for it to be replaced or changed. Black Lives Matter protests and riots are against the police in search of justice, not to change the president or form of government that we have. You may argue that the police is under the government, which it is, but the idea of political revolution is the people against the reign, which we aren't seeing. Most people are content with the democracy and the president we have now. Also, the election hasn't happened yet, so Trump hasn't become president. So we can't say that we're headed toward a revolution because of him. Like we saw in political revolutions from the past, like the French Revolution and Arab Springs, What they all have in common is the citizens rebelling against who the government already is and for a new reign. They are all protesting for better treatment of the people and a new government. We aren't seeing uprisings of the people fighting the actual government here today, so we're not headed towards political revolution.
In conclusion, to our side of the argument, the United States is witnessing the early stages of a revolution because of the police brutality and the treatment against African Americans. Police brutality usually leads to riots, which happened in many places around the country, such as Ferguson, Staten Island, and Ohio. Riots are normally dangerous and cause a lot of damage, but they also lead to reform or change, which is the main goal of African Americans. Another idea that supports why we are in the early stages of a revolution is because of the growing gap between the rich and the poor. This gap leads to more protests and eventually lead to a revolution. As of 2007, there have also been a lack of jobs and depression in America, and still no end in sight. The world also presents the failing economy and reacting to the high cost of food, energy, and the great loss of jobs. It is only a matter of time until the revolution breaks out in the United States.
Despite what our opponents said earlier, Donald Trump will not become president because we have not had a Republican president in a while, and Hillary Clinton is leading the Democratic Party, which will improve our country, not causing a political revolution. When we look at our Constitution, the rights listed are fair and equal for all. We have a democracy which is supposed to give everyone an equal voice. What we need to do is improve the government, not have a whole new government. Looking at political revolutions in the past, they have been caused by people being unhappy with the whole governing force. In today's society, people are unhappy with certain aspects of the government. For example, police brutality deals with the executive branch, not the entire government as a whole. Even if we were going to experience a political revolution, it would not be in the near future, because according to Dushwell, there is a long way to go before those campaigns, living wage movement, $15 an hour minimum wage movement, Walmart workers unionization movements, student anti-debt movement, or the Black Lives Matter campaigns actually recognize their collective self-interest in opposition to a system that is actually at the back of almost all of their experiences of oppression and discrimination. Things in our country will change for the better with the upcoming presidential election, as Trump will not become president. In conclusion, our government will begin to improve certain aspects instead of a political revolution starting and gaining a whole new government.